Hey, beautiful. I am so glad that you're here. Welcome to Inside the Apothecary, a space for real conversations about hormones, fertility, and the body. Because your body isn't broken, it's communicating. So take a breath, get comfortable, and let's tune back into you. So in this episode, episode 7, we're going to talk about why we bother to individualize every single protocol for every single patient that we see. Why don't we do one size fits all? And why are we using these supplements that aren't available retail? Why are we using practitioner supplements? Like a lot of people, that's weird and wonderful and they don't understand. So let's talk supplements, misconceptions, the crap that is on the shelves in some places we won't mention. You know, I'm really excited to just dig into this and bang it out with you, because people are buying supplements. Like nearly every person in Australia buys some kind of supplement. So let's educate.
I love that this is coming from a place of wellness, that everybody is wanting to improve themselves. Like, I love that.
Yeah, totally.
But what is really difficult is there's just so much misinformation and just so much stuff out there.
It
So I
gives
think
me
firstly,
rage that people are
I
spending
know.
money and getting shit. But yes.
So firstly, let's just kind of strip it back and let people know that there are vitamins and there are vitamins. Right? Same as there are herbs and there are herbs. If you saw our was that second episode, we talked about different types of herbs and different types of what it means for us to use our herbal medicine versus stuff that you can get in supplements. Right? So it's the same thing with vitamins and minerals. Right? So each different type of vitamin and mineral, you can have several different forms. Right? So magnesium is a prime example of this. Right? There is different types of magnesium, from things like magnesium glycinate, citrate, chelate or chelate, down to, and they'll have different levels of bioavailability. So those ones might be the best level, right? Pretty much picking and choosing, down to the worst, which is magnesium oxide. But what happens is that magnesium oxide is very cheap. So cheaper brands will pop it in there because it's really cheap and they can tick the box to say they've got magnesium, but they're doing it to save money and they're not thinking about the fact that you might understand how to read that label. And they're playing into that.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to check the back of your supplement, be like, oh, great, it's got magnesium. I really need that. I heard Jamie speaking on TikTok, said magnesium was great. Away you go. And then the next morning you may have a very interesting bowel movement. Because what does magnesium oxide do? Relaxes the bowel.
Diarrhea. Yes,
Doesn't help with our nervous system.
No. And so different types of different vitamins and minerals, like I said, will have different levels of bioavailability. So some are going to be amazing and some are going to be rubbish, right? And this is where, what you see out there on the shelf of a chemist is the wild, wild west often, right? Because they're not thinking about that. Not all those brands are thinking about that. Often they're thinking about the money, right? And trying to put something out there and playing into the fact that you don't know any better. And it's really sad. Right? So this is something that we see a lot. So the difference then, Mel, do you want to talk about what's the difference, like the supplements that we use? Like, what does practitioner, like what does that even mean?
There's like levels, right? So it's like when you go to the pharmacy and you go, can I get some Panadol? And you can grab it off the shelf. Like, you don't even have to ask. You can get it in Woolies now, right? But if you want Celebrex or Naprogesic or some kind of hectic, bit more analgesic and inflammatory, something behind the counter, you got to go and ask. And then if you want something like morphine, you got to go to hospital. So with our supplements, we have different kind of, similar to the scheduling system, we have different levels. We have what you can get every day from Joe Blow, can just pick up anywhere. We have, often in a health food shop, you get a little bit better because they're a little more curated. They've chosen, they know what they're kind of talking about a little bit more. Some of them. And then you get the stuff that is practitioner only. And I'm not saying all the retail stuff's bad. I'm just saying that
there's the behind the counter practitioner only.
There's behind the counter practitioner only now. So you can ask someone. But then there's the stuff that we have to script to you. We have to have a consult legally to be able to then determine if that's appropriate and script it. So the biggest difference, say, between what we script and something you can grab off the shelf, there's a couple of things. It will be quality often, and it will be dosage.
And
I would say, yes. So I think, like, for me, that comes down to quality, right? So like, I get that there could be other stuff added, So there's lots here. There's, those supplements might have additives, crappy, they might be on like a soy base, whereas we want it on like a nice coconut oil base or something. The dose will often be lower because it is retail. They need it to be safe for everyone. And then you've got the forms for sure. So you might be getting, the wrong type of magnesium essentially. Whereas when we script it, we're going to give you the right type for what we're trying to do.
And also, I think what's really important to know is the brands you see in the supermarkets are going to be the lowest of the lowest in terms of the strength because they have to be that super safe that nothing's going to happen, which also kind of means nothing good's going to happen, right?
And
So
it does go to the point where we can swing all the way into some of those supplements being harmful as well. So they're not just not helpful, but they can be harmful. So we took a bunch of fish oil off the shelf a few years ago and tested, I think they tested 11 or 12 different fish oils. This is in New Zealand, not Australia, but very similar to, regulation. And I think this is my memory, like stretching my memory, but all of them were oxidized. So nobody's testing that these things are actually okay when they've been sitting on the shelf for a while, or they've been sitting in a truck, or they've been sitting in a pallet in the loading dock. And a couple of them were rancid, so completely off. And if you're taking fish oil, especially in our realm for fertility, the one thing we're trying to avoid is free radical damage and oxidative stress on your eggs and sperm. So that can actually cause issues for for you and what we're trying to do. That's like the hectic end of the scale. But there's lots in the middle.
Fish oil's a biggie, right? That's a really big one where the brand, the form, the ethics, the sourcing, the storage makes a big difference, right?
Yeah.
Like I am so particular about the brands of fish oil that I recommend. And then when you get it home, once you open it, I always say to everyone, keep it in the fridge.
Yeah.
Because you want to keep it cool. You also just want it, not to be susceptible to heat. It's such a biggie.
And like
you
those
got to be
big
really
tubs,
careful.
every time you open the big tubs,
worst.
you're oxidizing it, right? So like every single time. So like even if it is like a good quality one and you get 120 capsules or something, I say to decant it as well. Keep like your big one in the fridge and then keep a smaller one, that you're going to have for like the next 2 weeks or something that you're opening all the time. But a lot of the oil-based supplements will be that. Like even ubiquinol. I tell a lot of my patients, especially during summer, keep it in the fridge, your SPMs, your choline. A lot of the prenatals are coming to us now cold packed as well. So this is going to stabilize the ingredients.
Yeah. It's really important to kind of take that stuff into consideration for sure. So fish oil is a biggie. And I think the other one is like that we said, I see like magnesium. I just see a lot of issues with magnesium. With magnesium, I think it's really important to touch on, and this kind of goes with all the supplements, right? Magnesium especially. When you're reading the label, right? Let's talk about the label part. I've done a few TikToks on this because I think it's really important. What you'll see on the back of the label is you'll see magnesium glycinate, say, and it will say 900 milligrams. What you want to see then underneath it is equivalent elemental magnesium and an amount. That's what you need to be looking at when it comes to magnesium, right? And if it doesn't say that, that's not a good thing, right? Or if it says the magnesium is from a blend and then it lists 5 different types of magnesium, also not a good thing. Like, there's just so much dodgy stuff out there when it comes to supplements. They're so sneaky. They're really sneaky. And I don't know whether it's because they're from companies that don't, they're not started from people that are practitioners.
Yeah. They might not know. Yeah.
They might not know better. And so therefore they're assuming other people don't know, stuff like that. But this is where, like, as naturopaths, so the difference with our supplements, right? The brands that we recommend in clinical practice, like everything is like evidence-based, clinical dosages, the best bioavailable forms of vitamins and minerals. I can't even tell you so many people that have said to me, I tried magnesium, it doesn't work. And then I've gone, well, what was the one that you tried? And I've looked at it and I've gone, well, of course it didn't work. It was a tiny baby dose or not the right form. It wasn't, you needed to have 4 of them, not 1. So I see that if it's not the right dose or the right form or, that will make a big difference into the efficacy of what you're trying to
Definitely.
take.
And like for you and I, these brands that we use, we've been to a lot of their labs. We're not
Yeah.
getting kickbacks or anything. Like they don't pay us to pick their brand. We look at the brand and go, what are you doing? Are you batch testing? Are you, how are you transporting it? Like if they're sending us
Mm,
a prenatal in a cold pack, like I'm happy. You know what I mean? That's
mm. Yeah.
care that's gone into that thought.
Yeah. For sure.
They want their products to be
Mm,
efficient and to work.
mm. Mm-hmm.
And so they've put that effort in to know what it needs. And often
Mm.
they will also do the testing to stabilize it until the expiry date, which is very
Very
important.
important.
And
Yeah.
then batch testing, like a lot of the other like a lot of the companies don't have the resources or availability to test a lot of things. And, that's also the case when it's a huge batch of like, I think you were saying in one of your TikToks, creatine.
Mm.
Who's making sure that that's actually creatine when it comes
Mm.
to the person packaging it up?
Yeah.
Nobody, they'll get like a huge amount, however many thousands of tons or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
then it'll say creatine. And I think that you gave a great example that the top bit's creatine, it's going to be
Mm.
awesome. And then the other three-quarters of it might be some filler. But
Mm.
because the ability to batch test everything it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of
Mm.
money. The
Yeah.
companies we're visiting have the resources to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we feel, really confident and we stand behind those choices as well because we
Mm.
know a lot about the ethics of the companies as well. Like, gosh, that makes a difference, guys.
Yeah.
So the longer we've been in the industry, I just think you and I know way too much about how all this works.
Yeah.
And, it's a good thing, but
Terrifying.
it is terrifying, some of the practices that go on. And it's really sad,
Yeah.
so this is where, so often, we're not, when we see clients in clinic and, I always ask them what supplements you're taking or
Mhm.
medication as well. Often the stuff that they're, people are taking, I'm not saying I don't want you to have it because, I want you to have what I'm recommending. No, often it's because I know that this isn't going to do what you want it to do.
Yeah.
So it's coming from that place,
Mm.
which I think is really important. Yeah, to kind of understand that.
It's not good for anyone when it doesn't work. If we say that this is what it's going to do, that this is what it's going to help, it gives us a bad reputation, as people who prescribe these things. It gives that company, wherever they've got that. It's not good for anyone. Like we want these things to work. We're not doing it for no reason.
Mm,
Um, the other thing is some of this is, we talk about whether it's intentional or not, but like some of it's just old fashioned. We do have forms of iron is a really good example in, the
mm,
pharmacy and the supermarket and stuff like that. That's just a really old heavy metal, nasty form. Our stuff is much nicer on your gut, like, much easier to
mm,
digest, utilize, all that stuff. And it's most of the times the same price. So our stuff isn't
yeah,
necessarily more expensive either.
no,
Sometimes it is,
I,
for sure.
no. I think another really good example of this is vitamin D.
Mm.
A million years ago, when I used to work in a health food shop, when I used to manage health food shops, I used to see little old ladies coming in when their doctor has told them their vitamin D is low and they need to take Ostal and vitamin D.
Mhm.
And the thing with vitamin D, so some things it matters, the brand, the source, or whatever. Other things like vitamin D is pretty standard and it's quite a cheap nutrient, right? Ostal and vitamin D is very expensive.
Is it?
And it is, yeah. And it's
I didn't
so
know.
much more, it's so expensive. And it's so much more expensive than I could give them herbs of gold or something else. So much cheaper.
And D3,
And I,
D3. Like it's all D3.
3D3.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was like, you don't have to do that. Why don't you try this one? This is going to be significantly cheaper because my poor little old woman on her pension. And she was like, no, but the doctor said I have to have Ostalin. And it used to just really break my heart because I was like, no, that company, I know what they're doing. They're just doing it because of money. That does not have to be that expensive. It's not an
Mm.
expensive nutrient. So
We
stuff like that
do.
just used to upset me as well.
And, good quality iron's readily available. It doesn't have to be prescribed. But the next layer up in vitamin D, which is no longer D3, is prescribed by us
Mm,
for
mm,
specific things. So, yeah, like it's just that's what we're here for. This is our whole life, like our whole
mm,
career. Every single day, I learn about some other new thing with a supplement, you know?
Mm.
I did all this training this week on choline, a supplement I've known about forever, but now I know new stuff about that and I know new things about the dose and there's new
Mhm.
clinical research. We are
Mm.
constantly in this world. And so I think that that brings us to prescriptions and,
Mm.
you know, why we are doing it in such a like seeing every single patient individually and writing every single script individually. It's not very like fast paced for us. We're not, you know, we're
Mm.
not churning that out. That takes a lot of time. We spend a lot of time with our
Sure does.
patients. Why do we do that? Like, why does one kind of fit prescription or here's your naturopathic
Mm.
bag when you go out the door? Why doesn't that work for everyone?
Because everybody's different. Everybody is different. You're all unique individuals. And so what works for one person isn't going to work for someone else. Right.
Hmm.
Which is why I did a TikTok just recently and I was like, stop following TikTok prescriptions, like fertility prescriptions off TikTok. Like,
Yes.
just because it's helped one person, one couple to conceive, doesn't mean it's going to help you, what's going on in your body.
Yep.
Right. And like supplements don't have to be forever either. I think
Mm.
that's really important to kind of know, like, and what happens in your life as things like move and they change as well. And so what goes on with you also moves and changes. And this isn't to say that everybody needs supplements, right? Like I remember again years ago when I used to manage a health food shop, so much stress. It was so crazy. It was wild how busy I was, right? Because I was consulting, I was managing, it was mental. And I remember like would have certain people every now and again be like, "Oh, what supplements do you take?" And I was like, "Look, you don't want to know
Yeah.
because I am
You don't need what
like
I'm taking.
I am so stressed. I am run off my feet. My brain needs to be going a million miles an hour. I train hard in the gym. I have
Mm.
a lot going on. And that is very different to someone that works an office job. They have no kids. They eat a good diet. There's not much stress in their life.
Yep.
They're cool, right? So it always depends on kind of what's going on with you at that particular point in time in your
Mm.
life as to whether you need to supplement or not, right?
We
Like,
call them supplements for a reason too.
yeah, yeah,
They're not called, you must take this daily forever. They're
for
called
sure.
supplements. We're
Yeah.
supplementing.
And also, your age has a big influence on that. So
Yes.
many things have an influence on whether you need it or not, at different stages of your life.
Hmm.
And look,
I
in
was,
an ideal world back in the day when we were all eating organic and, because there wasn't the pesticides that there were and there wasn't the stresses of modern day life and the pollution and everything that we have today, it was a very different situation back then than what we have now. And I think it's really important to like honor that and respect
mm.
that. It's a different time now.
I also think, like with a lot of my patients, I'm like, look, like all of these supplements in the right quality and dose and form are great. All of these supplements are great, but we want to make them great for you. We want them to work for you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and ideally we get your iron up to sufficiency and you don't supplement that for the rest of your life. Like, why is your
Yeah.
iron low? We get your vitamin D up with the right
Mm,
type and it should stay at sufficiency. You know,
mm,
maybe you need to go
mhm,
back and supplement it once a year or like during winter or for some reason, sure. But otherwise, the supplements that we're using aren't generalized, take this forever. It is trying
mm,
to achieve a goal or address a symptom or, do something really specific for that person.
mm,
A
mm,
really good example is we were having a chat on Insta Live last night, and one of my patients said, I'm taking all this stuff, like it's great, like blah, blah, blah. But what about creatine? And I was like,
mm,
sure, creatine's great. But for you right now, number one, it's at the bottom of my list. Like there's so many things we're doing first.
mm,
But,
yeah,
number two, like it's not something that I'm going to go, you need creatine like right
mm,
now.
mm,
It's fine, it's great, but you don't need
mm,
it right now. And
mm,
the sheer amount of supplements I think is important too. Like we cannot
mm,
use and digest and, like everything that goes into your body, good, bad, whatever, has to be processed.
yeah,
So it's about like our job is definitely prioritizing and,
mm,
funneling that for people.
for sure. And you don't want to take a bunch of stuff that's not going to really do much for you either, because that's just going to
Mhm,
cause further stress on your body. Trying to break that down. And so the difference with the stuff that we supplement is often very clinical dosages and best
mhm.
form. So therefore, there's a lot more factors to take into consideration with what we recommend and what we're prescribing as compared to something that's really low dose, not much bioavailability. Like our stuff is like super duper. So because of that, we have to be very mindful of what's going on with you. And that's where a big difference of it lies as well.
And the reason a lot of this isn't available retail is because there is toxicity to consider. If you're using like this banging form and your vitamin D is like goes awesome and you continue to take it, then you can have too much. You know, we've seen lots of news in the news, high B6, like which can be damaging. There's these things to consider. You can become toxic. We don't need to supplement it if we don't need to supplement it. Like it's, it's unnecessary.
Yeah. And honestly, the amount of times I've had someone in front of me and I've said, "What are you on?" And they give me a list a mile long
I've
of
got
what
the
they're taking.
bags. The shopping bags coming into the clinic, and I literally the other day sat down on the floor in my clinic, unpacked the bags and just worked through it with her. If it's out of date, that's going in the bin. Let's not even go there. If it's not a great form, it's going to go in this pile. From what you've told me in the last 45 minutes, this pile is not going to help. So let's put that in that pile. This pile is good. Let's look at that. Let's look at what we can do with that. You know, like, sure, I'm going to try and use what they've got because I know they've spent money on it. And I hate to be like, this should just go in the bin. But some things should go in the bin.
And I often say that to my clients as well. I'm like, let's, if it's, I'll sometimes say like, let's finish that one, but then let's get a better choice next time.
Yep. Let's go.
We're not like, oh, you got to chuck it in the bin and take everything that we've got. It's kind of like, let's just make better choices. And I think, that's kind of our philosophy with a lot of stuff, right? Is it's
Nutrition,
not about being perfect.
food.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. I don't want someone to have to throw everything in their pantry out.
I know.
Like that's stressful and financial and all this. Let's just work through it and get some better stuff in there as we move along. Cleaning products.
Yeah.
Let's use that up and like swap that over. Toothpaste. Like you don't have to throw your stuff out. Like it's, same with subs. But if it is a worry, if it is damaging, if it's not going to do what they're there for, I do put it on pause or put it away.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah. Be like, put this up in the cupboard and we might come back to it.
Yeah. Not right now. Just not right now. That's okay.
Totally.
Yeah.
I've loved this one. I think it's going to be really helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
Thanks
I think
for
it's
the
a good chat.
again.
Yeah, thank you. We can always talk supplements. Love it.
Definitely. I'll see you later. Thank you so much for being here with us today. If something in this episode resonated, just know there's always a way to explore it further and support your body the way it needs. You can find out more by going to the website nourishingapothecary.com or reach out if you're ready for more personalised care. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep listening to your body.